Bulldogs just 2 games removed from their biggest win of the year, Kat, as they took down Georgia Tech 8-5 last week.
The Mercer Bears turned heads in the softball world, upsetting Georgia Tech 8-5, as you mentioned. They put a lot of runs up early and didn't stop. Mercer's going to pitch with a full pitching staff, so that's what kept Georgia Tech off balance. They kept the ball in the yard. Keys for them tonight against the Bulldogs as well.
They're led by Tori Hedgecock offensively in the 3 spot. This is a player who has 45 career home runs.
She has 10 this season. You see she leads the SoCon Conference. But they're going to need Langford and Jones to set the table ahead of her in order for her to be able to put a dent against this Bulldog pitching staff.
They'll be facing the senior Rachel Gibson in the circle as we are underway from Athens. Gibson leading the Bulldogs in ERA this year and an impressive record of 5-1 as she faces the leadoff hitter, Hallie Langford.
As you mentioned, Gibson, a senior, really developed in her time since she transferred over to Georgia. Really the right-hander that Tony Baldwin and his staff lean towards, his 2 aces, both left-handed pitchers, so they have to have someone to offset those 2, and Gibson is it.
Falls behind 3-0 to Langford, who's riding an 11-game hitting streak. The 5th-year senior has helped this offense average just about 5 runs per game so far this year. And there is strike 1. Georgia comes into the game again ranked 16th. They actually moved up in the rankings by 1 spot despite dropping 2 of 3 against Alabama this past weekend. They did beat Oklahoma State before that, but there is a leadoff walk issued by Gibson, and Tony Baldwin told us at times walks have been an issue, but he also thinks it's a little bit overblown as well.
Well, he does. I mean, walks definitely, if you look at the numbers, they are issues, but at the same time, he mentioned they didn't walk a single person in the end of the Alabama series, but yet they gave up the most runs they had probably given up all season and hit. So it's a catch-22, but obviously he'd like to see Gibson going more right at these Mercer hitters. The senior going to sit mid-60s, 63, 65. She does have 3 speeds, and he talks a lot. She's Trevor Hoffman-like. She comes in, she throws a lot of off-speed drops. It's her best pitch. She uses the other one, screw, curve. You saw her go up in the zone a little bit against Langford just to offset that off-speed drop. But once she gets in a groove, see a lot of miss hits off Mercer's bat because that drop is not only just moving downward, but also changing speeds.
Behind 2-1 to Grace Jones. Hey, you brought up that series finale against Alabama. The pitching staff didn't walk a single batter, but gave up 8 runs in the loss. The times you saw the walks really increase in an SEC series, they walked 20 in that series against Tennessee.
Free passes so many times lead to runs that are just give-me's. If you put a runner on base, they are able to move her over. A ground ball or a single can drive him in.
And that one misses.
Right now, Gibson just hasn't been able to figure out the outside corner to these left-handed hitters.
Gibson falls behind 3-2. The runner is going, and she is safe. Hallie Langford in scoring position. She swipes second.
Well, Langford now a perfect 17 for 17. Mercer putting her on the run, getting her in scoring position, whether it's here for Grace Jones in this full count or now setting the table, as we said, in the open for Hedgecock.
It's a Mercer team that's 18-18 on the year. They've only beaten Georgia once in program history, but it wasn't that long ago, 2018, in Athens. They took down the Bulldogs. Trying to get off to the hot start here as Jones fights off another one. Mercer is without one of their top offensive weapons tonight. Paris Wiggs is having a career year, hitting nearly .330, injured and will miss tonight's contest. And 2 walks to start off the game for Gibson.
There you see Gibson trying to use that off-speed drop on the outer half.
They are adding to that total of the most walks allowed in the SEC. Again, Tony Baldwin thought a little too much talk and chatter about the walks. But the storyline has come up again here. And this time Gibson starts off with a strike to Tori Hedgecock, one of the most storied hitters in program history. More than 130 career RBIs. They call her the offensive heartbeat of the team. That's a foul ball. And Kat, really the offense goes through Hedgecock, riding a 20-game on-base streak, the senior leader of this team.
Hedgecock has in every way been able to take the reins and just drive this team, both offensively, emotionally. Coach Fico talking about what she means to this program right now. Interesting she was so aggressive early in the account with the fact that Gibson has struggled commanding the strike zone. At the same time, when you're a hitter hitting over 400, you have the ability to drive in runs. If you see a pitch you think you can drive, you're going to be aggressive at it. And I think more coaches wish hitters had that confidence, especially when they're facing a pitcher who might not be throwing in the strike zone a lot, but if you see it in the zone, go ahead and be aggressive.
Gibson still ahead 1-2. 2 on, no outs, just underway here in Athens. This one popped up down the line, and that one hauled in by Allen. First out of the contest, and a big one getting Hedgecock.
This pitch, an off-speed drop on the outside, and you can see Hedgecock is out in front of it, under it, so that keeps it in the infield. Runner at first base actually colliding with White there as well, as White tried to drop step to possibly go catch that, but Paisley Allen able to help her first baseman out.
It's Jones at first with Langford at second, and here is Sietske Drivers, the junior out of Amsterdam, hitting .304 on the season. And again, Gibson falling behind 2-0. Third time in 4 batters she's done that. Gibson grew up just a few hours away in Ringgold, Georgia, about 15 minutes from the Georgia-Tennessee border. Originally signed with Clemson, played a couple of years there, but only appeared in 5 games. Made the move to Athens. That one finds the strike zone. Hitters count for Drivers, and she swings at that one. Would have been ball 4 to load the bases.
There's the deception of that off-speed drop. She goes ahead and lets that fall out of the zone. Mercer's going to have to be able to figure out how they can identify that pitch earlier so they know whether they drop barrelhead and go through it or take it if it's going to be out of the zone. But the speed change on that is going to make it a little hard for Mercer to decide if they're going to swing at something at the knees.
Only 1 out here in the top of the first, and Gibson has already thrown 25 pitches. Payoff pitch to Drivers. Called strike 3. Go ahead.
Well, this pitch, not the off-speed drop, up in the zone a little bit, but that's right there at the belt. Great pitch by Gibson and a full count. We'll go ahead and retire Drivers as Mercer's trying to create some momentum, but you have to think Drivers thought that was a little bit high, but you have to fight that off with 2 strikes.
What did you think?
I thought it was a strike.
Of course, the pitcher thinks it's a strike. Why am I asking? Here's Laura Vina with 2 away and 2 on. Again, the first 2 batters walk, but since then, Gibson getting a couple outs, but there's a base knock to right field by Vina, bobbled momentarily by Gordon, and Mercer's going to score the first run of the night. How about that? The Bears strike first.
Well, this is an off-speed pitch, and you see Vigna's out in front, but she's able to just control the barrel and poke this past Paisley Allen in the 3-4 hole. Coach Fico sending Langford no matter what, but as you mentioned, Alex, the bobble out there in right field allows her to score easily. Mercer starting to make some noise. They did this against Georgia Tech, too. They scored first, they got some momentum, and they never really relinquished it in that ball game.
Yeah, they're averaging about 5 runs per game, picked to come in third in the Southern Conference. Here is Taylor Rogers getting the start today. Not a usual starter, but again, some injuries on this squad. She's hitting .265 on the year. So those walks do come back to hurt Georgia, at least for now.
I think the old adage, Alex, is that 85% of leadoff walks or something score. So, you know, I think it's a high percentage. I don't know that it's officially statistically 85%, but when you put someone on for free, it allows the offense to do a lot, especially early in the game, because they can sacrifice some at-bats knowing there's a lot of ball game left to play.
Well, and Gibson had been so good as of late. Hadn't allowed a single earned run in 5 of her last 6 outings. Has already given up 1 here. 2-1 on the way to Rogers. Swing and a miss.
Locating that off-speed drop is going to be key. We saw her miss to Jones with it, but we also saw her get drivers to swing and miss at it, so she has to be able to locate it to where Mercer's going to offer.
And again, a full count coming up with 2 already on. 33 pitches thrown here in the opening frame by Gibson. Swing and a miss, and an inning-ending strikeout for Rachel Gibson. However, Mercer strikes first. Vigna with the RBI single. 1-0 Bears. All right, welcome back to Jack Turner Stadium in Athens, Georgia. Bulldogs coming up to bat with a pretty potent offense here in the bottom of the first inning. And Kat, we see Dallas Goodnight. When you talk about this offense, she had been moved down to the 9 spot as of late. She's back up towards the top of the order, batting second.
Coach Tony Baldwin talked to us about how stereotypically she is the type of athlete you want in the leadoff. And he moved her to the 9 hole, give her a little bit of time to breathe. She was struggling a little bit, allow her to get her footing. As you see there, last 5 games been extremely hot, so he's moving her back up to the top. No reason to move Taylor Ellison out of the 1 spot, but allow Goodnight to be able to use her slap game and speed to move Ellison if she's on base, or else set the table herself.
Ellison leading things off against Hannah Pitts. Takes strike 1 there. Pitts, the redshirt junior, leading the Bears in strikeouts and ERA this year. She gets the call tonight. Big swing and a miss from Tyler Ellison. Now, this is a Georgia offense that's been swinging the bats really well. In fact, last week against Oklahoma State, they had 10 hits and 6 runs off Ruby Malin. That was the most she's allowed for either category all year. However, this one, the first out of the bottom of the first, is that one hauled in by the catcher drivers.
See Hannah Pitts, the junior. You mentioned Mercer uses an entire staff. They have about 5 arms that they use. Last year relied a whole lot on Grace Taylor, but she was out due to injury early this season for most of preseason, so she's working her way back, which has forced the staff to have to take the load. But Pitt's going to attack Georgia in the mid-60s. We saw the rise ball against Ellison there in the first at-bat. Biggest key for her is that she's developed a change of speeds, but her success against Georgia Tech came because she stayed on the corners and kept the ball in the yard. And that's going to be key here tonight against Georgia as well.
She's behind 2-0 to Dallas Goodnight. Goodnight, the usual leadoff hitter, but Tony Baldwin felt like recently she needed a reset, bumped her down to the 9 spot, and she responded. She hit .545 over the last half dozen games, batting 9th, so tonight again bumped up to second. Just a tremendous center fielder. Good night. Lays down the bunt. The throw in time and quickly two-way here in the bottom half.
Good night, trying to use some small ball in her speed there, but Jones for Mercer all over that one. That's going to be another key for Mercer here against the Bulldogs. Clean defense, making the plays that are routine that they can make. If they make some great Sports Center type plays, you tip your hat, but the goal right now is to play clean, control the game, and keep their foot on the gas offensively.
Georgia averages about 6 runs per game, hitting 300 as a team, which is even more impressive, Kat, when you think about the schedule they have faced so far. So many top 10 teams already.
Georgia historically has always been an offensive team. Everyone, when you talk about Georgia, you talk about the home runs they've been able to hit, the way they've been able to put up runs, the aggressiveness of this offense. And Tony Baldwin, hitting coach here at Georgia before he took over for Lou Harris-Champer. There we see Coach Baldwin, but very good offensive mind. Has spent some time on the staff of the U.S. national team as well.
His 4th year in charge as that one fouled off by Lindy Ray Davis.
And on the offensive side, you see Baldwin in the dugout, which a lot of times the head coach is at third base, but he likes to stay in the dugout to talk to his hitters about their approach, what he's seeing the pitcher doing, how they should attack it. We can get into it in a little bit, but his staff very much solid in their own lanes all the way around.
Davis to deep left center. That one off the wall. She slides into second, safe with a 2-out double. Lindy Ray Davis with the Dogs' first hit of the night.
Well, this pitch up in the zone, but over the white of the plate, and Lindy Ray Davis puts a charge into this one all the way to the fence. Mercer lucky that she wasn't able to get that one out of the yard. Davis, a power hitter, not as high of an average this year as she has in years past because she's drawing more walks. People are trying to be a little bit more careful of her, but she gets the first extra base hit of this ballgame.
So Georgia threatening, and here comes Jaden Goodwin, the junior out of Paris, Kentucky, who's having a career year, leading the team in batting average, doubles, and triples. Tony Baldwin says the team calls her shorty at just 5'3", but I think feisty and scrappy would probably be better words used to describe the left fielder, who again is just having a fantastic season.
Tony Baldwin saying how great of a player she's been over the course of her entire career. So she's going to be that athlete that once she graduates, other coaches are going to ask, she's finally done? Has she been there for about 20 years?
Hitting 372 this year. And the count now goes 2-2 from Pitts. Goodwin had a big walk-off 3-run homer earlier this season against Michigan State. Here's a 2-2. This one taken to center field, backing up is Langford and makes the grab, running up against the wall. Oh, Goodwin gave that one a ride, but came up just short. 1-0 Mercer after one. 4th year coming off the biggest win of the season against Georgia Tech last week. Here's what she had to say about the 8-5 upset.
I mean, it's huge, I mean, so far we've beat, we said in the huddle, we've beat everybody in the state that we've played so far. We've got Georgia next week. That's a bit of a stretch, but anytime you can come into a place like this, whether it's an ACC school or an SEC school, and compete. Our biggest thing is we just want to compete. We don't necessarily need any miracles to happen, but they did a really good job. And what I'm hoping is the team sees that we can compete with anybody whenever our version of the Bears show up.
A leadoff hitter takes one to left field. That's going to be a fair ball. Emma Dorval comes up with the second hit of the night for Mercer to begin the second inning. Well, Kat, you heard the words from Lindsay Fico right there. The big win, one of her hitters comes up with another base knock, and this is a Mercer program that she said really steps up when they're being overlooked, when they're facing a team that's a favorite like a Georgia Tech or a Georgia tonight.
Well, and you can see them coming out aggressive. They have confidence. The Georgia Tech win has built some confidence, not to mention just over time, seeing this program develop, this group of athletes develop. And Coach Lindsay Fico hit it on the head. When they play their style of bare ball, they are at their best, and that's what they're doing right now against Georgia.
There's Sydney Harris, the senior outfielder, batting 8th. You know, Tony Baldwin said about this Mercer squad, he knew this was going to be a battle here, this interstate battle, as Mercer coming from Macon, about 2 hours away from Athens. And Tony Baldwin said, listen, there's a lot of these kids on this roster who probably wanted to play for Georgia. They're going to come into this contest with a chip on their shoulder. They're making that 85 miles away from Athens. Is this one fouled back by Sydney Harris.
I really liked hearing both coaches talk about how important this matchup is in season. Lindsay Fico talking about wanting to play everybody in the state for recruiting purposes. What kid doesn't want the opportunity to go play in Athens at this stadium, or even in Atlanta against Georgia Tech? And then Tony Baldwin on the flip side talking about how it's important for him to play everyone in state too, to help grow the game, allow recruits to understand what every program in the state has to offer.
Mercer's already beaten 4 schools from the state of Georgia. This would be a whole different story. They'll be taking down Georgia Tech, West Georgia, Georgia State, and Georgia Southern. And leading Georgia 1-0 here. Gibson, another full count. Kat, that's already the 3rd walk of the game for Gibson. What are you seeing from the senior right now?
Senior's not able to locate her best pitch, which is that off-speed drop ball. So she's being forced to throw more of her complementary pitches, which Tony Baldwin told us they are just used to offset that off-speed drop. So with the command of your best pitch not in your pocket right now, try a little out of your comfort zone as a pitcher.
Laying down the butt is Hannah Rivers. The throw over to first in time, but Mercer now with 2 in scoring position and only 1 away, and back up to the top of the order.
Mercer able to easily put that sack bunt down, knowing that Gibson's going to come around the strike zone. But now you have their best and most experienced hitters at the top of the lineup, and they've all seen Gibson already once in this game.
For the first 9 batters reached against Gibson. Here's a second time through. Hallie Langford began the night with the walk. She has now reached in 12 straight. That one misses, and it gets away from Davis. Here comes another run, and Mercer's on top, 2-0. And Kat, we saw the first run score on somewhat of a bobble in right field, and now this one gets away from the catcher, leading to another run.
Well, Lindy Ray Davis, not the everyday catcher for Georgia, and you see her struggle a little bit there with a off-speed drop that short hops her. But the aggressiveness of Mercer was not matched by the aggressiveness of the defense and the urgency to get that ball and get it home by Davis, and even covering the plate of Gibson.
And just like that, that will be the end of the road, at least for now, for Rachel Gibson. New pitcher headed to the circle in Athens. It'll be the senior lefty Lily Backus taking over in the circle for Rachel Gibson, who had a quick night, Kat.
Rachel Gibson just unable to command the zone tonight, and Mercer being patient, earning the 3 walks, and honestly been able to barrel up the ball when they needed to as well when she was in the zone. So Mercer threatening to score run number 3, but Georgia going to turn to the left-handed pitcher Lily Backus, transferred 2 years ago from North Carolina. Going to sit 63-64. She has a curve, a rise, a change. The biggest thing is that changeup can be used in any count, and that's what's going to be her bread and butter. Mercer's going to have to adapt to a lot of off-speed.
Comes into a tough situation. Runner on third, only 1 out, and the count was already 2-0, so now it's 3-0. Backus, talented senior at Peachtree City. She began the year on the USA Softball Player of the Year watch list. Currently leads the Dogs in strikeouts. Second in ERA. The 3-1 on the way to Hallie Langford, one of the best hitters on the Bears. That one low, bunted by Langford, kicked aside. It'll be 3-0 Bears. Langford heads to second, and Mercer right now has Georgia all out of sorts. I mean, Kat, this is a pretty unreal start we're seeing right now.
Well, this is a ballsy call for Coach Fico. It's a squeeze play, and you know that because Langford goes down in the dirt to bunt this ball. But yes, you see third baseman come in, Davila kick that ball. It gets far enough away from anybody that Langford's able to get herself in scoring position. Mercer doing everything right now on both sides of the ball, but the pressure they're putting on Georgia defensively, to be honest, doesn't look like Georgia was ready for Mercer to come out with the momentum and the energy that they have.
Once again, Lindsay Fico said, "We are at our best when we're counted out." And she actually said it's a blessing and a curse. She also felt like her team doesn't produce as well when they're favored. This one flied out to left for out number 2. But what a start for Mercer. Again, their only win in program history over Georgia. Back in 2018, they are 1-23 all time against the Dogs.
Midweek games like this, if you are the top dog and you are the person being chased, sometimes they can be trap games if you get too comfortable. But for Mercer, regardless now, to be honest, what happens, you obviously want to get a win in the win column, but they're showing that they can hang even if it's early in the game with Georgia. They're putting pressure. They're doing some little things right that Coach Fico is going to take with her and say, okay, if we do this for the rest of conference play, we should be in a pretty good spot. She talked to us. They've already faced the top 2 teams in their conference, so their schedule in conference a tad easier as they move forward.
That one misses 2-1 count. Backus threw a gem last Friday in the win over Alabama. 8 strikeouts and just 1 earned run. As you can see, the rain starting to fall in Athens. Not expected to be too bad. As the count evened up at 2.
You see the changeup from Backus.
Two to Hedgecock. And the umpteenth full count already of this game, Kat, from Georgia pitching.
The deep counts are what is giving Mercer an advantage. They're getting to see everything the pitcher has to offer in one at bat, and that can help trickle down as the offense keeps turning over. Not to mention for your pitcher, puts them in a little bit of a bind. The pitches you get early, later in the game, usually you start to tire a little bit.
Quick chat going on amongst the Bulldogs right now. Again, Mercer jumping out to the 3-0 lead for the Bears. 3 runs off 3 hits for Georgia. No runs, 1 hit, an error, and also a wild pitch that led to another run. We're checking on Davis. Appears to be okay. So the full count coming up to Tori Hedgecock with a runner on second, 2 away. Here in the top half of the second. And Backus misses. Another walk. We'll take a look at this week's SEC Network featured baseball matchup. Number 2, Arkansas get ready to begin 3-game series with Missouri. Friday night coverage begins at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Hey, there we go. From Ball-Walker Stadium in Fayetteville, again, 8 p.m. Friday nights, Arkansas and Mizzou. And don't forget, Mizzou baseball will be coming on after us tonight as they square off against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Baseball brewing. And now you can see some of the fans here at Jack Turner Stadium heading for cover as the rain has picked up. Backus misses, meanwhile, with the first pitch to Sietska Drivers, 1-0.
As the rain falls, it's going to be key for Backus to keep that ball from getting wet. Keep your glove face down. Allow that towel to be utilized.
Pat, I was going to say, is that more challenging for the pitcher or the batter trying to see that through the rain?
It's definitely more challenging for a pitcher to be able to grip the ball than it is. It's not raining hard enough right now, I think, for a hitter to be affected a whole lot visually. But for a pitcher, sometimes it's really hard to hold on to the ball. Even if you're grabbing the seams, they can get slippery.
1-1 on the way. Backus ahead of Sietska Drivers, who struck out in the first inning. Junior transfer from Florida Southwestern State in Fort Myers. Mercer with a couple of walks in the first cat and 2 more here in the second. Well, if you're Tony Baldwin right now, any discussion with your club, or it's so early in the contest that none is needed?
Well, there's definitely discussion because you know Mercer has the momentum, and they're going to take that momentum to the defensive side as well. And Tony Baldwin going to have to talk to the offense about figuring out how do you get it going right away, try to chip away. You don't have to put up 3 runs your second time up to bat, but you have to start putting pressure on Mercer as well. Otherwise, they're going to continue to gain energy and gain momentum because they're having success farther and farther in this ballgame.
2-2 with 2 on and 2 away. And again, Drivers fights that one off. Sietska hitting .300 on the season in that cleanup spot, with 4 homers to boot. Drivers, shallow right center, and a nice grab made by Allen, as the defense will finally end the top half of the second, but Mercer extends their lead to 3-0 early in Athens over the Dogs. Jack Turner Stadium seeing a record attendance this year, not only single game record attendance against LSU a little over a week ago, but part of this nearly $40 million renovation, adding a training facility. And this year, they've already set, Kat, the record attendance for the entire season, and we still have a month to go.
You put the new stadium in, you have an exciting ball club, you have the new hitting facility out there in left field, and fans get excited. Not to mention, we talked about it in the open, how many competitive teams have been able to, they've faced against in SEC play, and that's just going to continue.
What's a huge advantage in recruiting as well, when the athletes see a lot of programs now renovating, trying to bring things up to speed, and Georgia joining that as well. Again, last year opening up the big new training facility, and this year just seeing record crowds all over the place. Here's Sarah Gordon fouling one off. She's behind 0-2. Gordon, Digby, and Davila do up the 5, 6, and 7 hitters, as Georgia's offense has their work cut out for them. Again, more than 41,000 fans already this year. They have seen some great contests. That LSU series recently was here. The matchup last week against Oklahoma State. And tonight, hoping their club can rally, already down 3.
And the product that Tony Baldwin and his staff put on the field it's an exciting product. Offensively, they put up fireworks.
That's going to be a fair ball off the bat of Gordon to lead things off here in the bottom half. A stand-up double for Sarah Gordon.
Well, and on cue there, Gordon takes this pitch. That's actually off the plate, and she drives that right down the right field line. That barely stays fair, but extra bases for Gordon. Big lead leadoff double for Georgia, gets some momentum going offensively. Lindy Ray Davis had the double in the first, but that was with 2 outs, and Mercer was able to settle down. Big opportunity here for Georgia to start chipping away at this lead.
Yeah, all of a sudden, 2 of the last 3 Bulldogs batters have hard-hit doubles off of pits. Here is Emily Digby, the sophomore shortstop who her head coach calls tonic water because she goes with everything. Said she's so easy to get along with. Her teammates love her. And by the way, a terrific player as well, riding a 7-game hitting streak right now.
Riding that 7-game hitting streak, and Tony Baldwin talked to us about how a couple weeks ago they made some adjustments in her swing, and after that, last 10 games, hitting .357 with 3 extra base hits, 10 of 28 during that stretch. The last 10 games outdoes her .292 average coming into tonight.
Not bad for Tonic Water, who's ahead 3-1 right now to pitch. With Gordon in scoring position, swings at the 3-1. Sliding over his Dorval to make the grab. First out of the inning, and here comes Hannah Davila.
Pitch there by Pitts, being behind in the count against Digby. But not allowing Gordon to advance.
Davila, the sophomore, swinging at the first pitch. That one drops in there, and advancing around third and holding up at third. Retreating is Gordon, and Georgia in business. Runners on the corners with just 1 away.
This pitch, not a bad pitch. It's actually off the end of the bat, but just placed enough that it can fall in between Langford and Rivers. Vina heads up enough. She gets that on the bounce and goes ahead and gets it in quickly, which keeps Gordon at third.
Well, this bottom half of the lineup came up big against Oklahoma State last week, and Tony Baldwin hoping they do the same here. Esther White getting the start. She's got 7 hits on the season. Some lineup changes for Georgia as well. Moore Williams, the talented freshman, getting a breather tonight. Getting the start as the count even at 1.
A hit off the bat of Davila. The first time Georgia has swung at the first pitch tonight. They've been getting a little bit behind in counts, making sure they see hits, but Davila trying to make things happen early. As you mentioned, Moore Williams out of the lineup. Paisley Allen we'll see here after Esther White.
A number of talented freshmen on the squad. 3 of the 11 underclassmen, Williams, Allen, and White. 3 of White's 7 hits have been home runs, but that one fouled off. 3 hits for each club so far, but Georgia is still looking for their first run. Tony Baldwin's team 18-5 this year at home. They have looked so good here throughout the season. Full count from Pitts.
First time Pitts has faced a full count here against a Georgia Bulldog. The moment getting a little bit big with runners in scoring position.
White fouling one off. Bottom half the lineup, Gordon with a double, Davila with the single. And one more ball here to White would load the bases. Pitch ready to go. And she hits her, and the bases will be loaded for the Bulldogs.
Pitts trying to come up and in to White, and that just gets White on the hands. See that get her hands, and that loads the bases for Georgia. Again, we talked about it on the flip side, Georgia's free passes being an issue, but for Mercer as well. Georgia Tech didn't take advantage of 11 free passes, 7 walks, 4 hit by pitches. Georgia a little bit better offensively. They may take advantage in this situation.
Golden opportunity for Paisley Allen, the freshman who is now behind 0-2. Tony Baldwin has called her just a flat-out baller. Came up with a first career home run in that Alabama series and a .275 hitter in her first season with the Dogs. Trying to come through here with the bases full. Drives one. Well, just reach shallow left field and easy out there. So a big second out recorded by Pitts and the defense behind her. Back up to the top of the order. Mercer not out of the woods yet. So one of the best hitters on Georgia's squad this year, Tyler Ellison, will be coming up with the bases loaded and 2 away. Ellison popped up in the first inning, takes strike 1 here.
Big first pitch there by Pitts to challenge Ellison. Ellison hitting 370 with runners in scoring position.
Celebrate her 21st birthday in about 48 hours, hoping to get an early present here and get her team on the board. She's been such a clutch hitter this season. Already has 3 walk-off hits. Now behind 1 and 2 as Pitts jammed her.
I like the way Pitts is using her pitches. She's trying to stay tight inside to Georgia. Knowing how aggressive they are, how much they like the power. Trying to limit them getting extended.
Ellison leading the team in on-base percentage, having that career year. Works the count 2 and 2. Again, only had 34 career at-bats in her first 2 seasons. This year, second on the club in home runs and batting average. The 2-2. Chopped. Third to first. And how about the Mercer Bears, Cat, getting out of another jam?
Well, Mercer done a great job of doing everything right now, and they're going to come to bat in the top of the 3rd.
Well, Mercer has come to play tonight. They struck early. First inning here, base knocked by Vina and bobbled momentarily and right by Gordon. That brings in the first run of the game. On to the second. Wild pitch brings in another run. And Cat, moments later, this one just kind of pushed past the catcher, bringing home another run. Defensive miscues. Wild pitch as well. Georgia out of sorts early on. They've been charged with 1 error tonight. The errors were a problem in that Alabama series as we begin the 3rd inning here. Vina leading off. Georgia had only committed 2 errors in SEC play heading into the Bama series. They committed 5 in 3 games and 1 more tonight so far.
The defense had been something Georgia prided themselves on the first part of SEC play. And you can tell sometimes it takes a little bit for that youth to expose itself. And as you mentioned, a very young infield majority of the time. Even when you rotate people in and out, that can cause a little bit of some chaos. And Mercer just putting the pressure on Georgia.
Speak of the devil. Leadoff hitter aboard for the 3rd straight inning as Allen couldn't handle that. Kat, does the weather have anything to do with that?
Well, not with fielding. The weather will affect throwing for the most part. Don't feel like it's coming down as hard to be affecting fielding quite yet. That just looked like a ground ball that Allen sat back on, and it rolled up on her.
Well, this had been a really good defensive team until the last week. Now 7 errors in their last 3.5 games. Vina is over at first.
See Mercer starting to be a little bit more aggressive early in the count against Backus. Swing against Rogers there, just the 4th time they've swung at the first pitch. Is their 2nd time through the order.
Again, Rachel Gibson started the game in the circle for Georgia, but was replaced in the last inning by Lily Backus. Backus has not been charged with a single run. 0-2 on the way to Rogers, who struck out earlier, and there is the second K of the night.
There's that off-speed pitch, the changeup that Backus can use in any count. She pulls the string here. You see it drop out of the zone as well. That pitch fooled Rogers as she was nowhere close to being on time with it.
A one-away runner on first for Emma Dorval. She singled to lead off the second. All-conference shortstop. Hit .331 last year. Still trying to find that form that has been heating up as of late. Lily Backus had a huge relief performance last week against Oklahoma State. Came into a huge bases-loaded jam in the 6th inning, but got out of it unscathed in that win over the Cowgirls.
See Backus, you can see she uses a curve and a rise quite often. The changeup, not as much as I expected to see from her, but it could be because.
Nice play it short by Digby on to second for 1, 2 away.
You talk about the youth in the infield, but Digby picking Paisley up there, getting the lead runner on that play. That looked like it could have been a base hit. This ball takes Digby towards the hole, glove side, but a nice backhanded flip from her knees to Paisley Allen. That's the type of defense Tony Baldwin talked to us about with Digby and how strong she is there.
Well, she's only a shortstop, but she's considered the veteran of the infield. Again, most of the year surrounded by freshmen at first, second, and third.
When you're the oldest player, a lot rides on your shoulders, but Tony Baldwin feeling like she can handle it. She's done a good job of handling it and helping the youngsters adjust to the game.
She's had to grow up fast in Athens. She's had a really good sophomore campaign and made the play there moments ago. Count me while 1-1 to Harris. And that one catches the corner. Harris walked in the second inning, one of 4 walks issued to Mercer batters so far, and time was called.
I think there might have been a pitch clock violation.
Is starting to clear up just enough in Athens at Jack Turner Stadium as they are getting the field ready to go. Play about to resume in the top of the 3rd inning with Mercer at the plate. And the visiting Bears up by 3. A surprising start against number 16 Georgia. Let's see how it happened as Mercer went right to work to start off the game after 2 walks from their leadoff hitters in the lineup. Vigna coming through with an RBI single. Laura Vigna. It was bobbled in right as well as a run scored. Then in the 2nd inning, a wild pitch leads to another run. And Kat, after that, Mercer pulling off the squeeze play.
Yeah, an absolutely perfectly executed squeeze play. And then as Georgia threatened Mercer with the solid defense to get out unscathed, Mercer doing everything right now. They were able to execute the squeeze. They've made pitches when they need to. They made the defensive plays when they need to. Everything right now, scales are tipped towards the Mercer Bears.
And defense and walks, a problem that has crept up throughout the year for Georgia, happening again tonight. 4 walks issued in this game already. Again, 2 to the first 2 hitters of the game. And 2 errors for Georgia. They had 5 in the Alabama series. Before that, they had been nearly perfect in SEC play. 2 errors in all of SEC play heading into the Bama series, but suddenly things look different, Kat. Is it a mental thing? What do you think is causing those problems?
It might be a little bit of a mental thing, trying to do too much, trying to figure out how to win ball games and putting pressure on yourself that's undue, especially when you've already been solid on the defensive side. Some of it also might be youth. We've talked about it. Tony Baldwin can have up to 3 freshmen in his infield at any point in time. And that puts a lot of pressure on a pitcher to make pitches, but also your upperclassmen to make plays if you're freshmen are kind of showing freshman things. And he said that to us. He told us that some of his freshmen are starting to make the freshman type plays that you try to avoid, and that might just be rearing its head right now at the most inopportune time.
Lily Backus was in the circle when the game came to a halt. We expect to see her back out there. Kat, during your playing days, how would you handle rain delays?
As a pitcher, rain delay sometimes can be nice because you get to relax a little bit, but you do have to re-warm up. And so it's about making sure that while you're in the rain delay, keep a jacket on if you're inside. Don't let the air conditioning get you too cold, but at the same time, figure out mentally what keeps you in the game, or at least give yourself a 5-10 minute break to goof around with everybody if that's what's going on in the locker room, and then get back locked into what needs to be done, who's coming up, how you're going to approach certain hitters. You know me, Alex, I'm a little intense, so I didn't do a whole lot of the letting loose part, but I made sure I kept a jacket on. I'd walk around, not get too lethargic inside.
Rachel Gibson started this game, but didn't last past the second inning after issuing a number of walks. She was replaced by Lily Backus, the senior lefty, who's won 10 games on the year. And again, we expect to see Backus back out there when Mercer comes up to bat. They do have a runner on. For the Bears, meanwhile, they're just a week removed from their biggest win of the season against Georgia Tech. And their head coach, Lindsay Fico, told us we are at our best when we're the underdog. And we're seeing that so far tonight.
Mercer has nothing to lose coming into this game and everything to gain. You talk about just playing Georgia, and she told us the importance of playing this game. Her athletes get to be on the big stage. Tony Baldwin on the other side telling how some of these Mercer players probably grew up wanting to be Georgia Bulldogs, so they're going to make the most of this opportunity. But Mercer really nothing to lose. If they win this game, that is a huge win. If they lose this game but compete, you know that Lindsay Fico goes home and she takes all the positives with it for them to go into conference and make a run. So Mercer truly playing loose and free ball because, again, nothing to lose.
Mercer was just 1-23 all time against the Bulldogs. That one victory, that lone win coming back in 2018 at this ballpark, April 14th to be exact, a 5-2 victory in extras. But I mean, since then, it's been all Bulldogs, especially the last 5 meetings, as Georgia has outscored Mercer 52-8. You know, we've been talking about Georgia's tough schedule all night long, one of the toughest schedules in the nation. They've already had 3 top 10 series in SEC play. They have another one coming up this weekend against A&M. Kat, some people were thinking maybe this would be a non-conference breather for them, a break, and that just hasn't been the case as they've been challenged through the first 2.5 innings.
Well, no, this isn't going to be an absolute breather. It should be a chance for Georgia to be able to do some different things like start Gibson, get some other athletes chances to get at bats and some defensive reps, but at the same time, you have to be able to put pressure on early, and Mercer has eliminated that from Georgia. They took the momentum in the first inning and really haven't let up so far.
So here we go. Lily Backus back out there throwing a few warm-up pitches. She already threw an inning and a third coming out of the bullpen, allowing just 1 hit, not charged with any of the runs. A strikeout and a walk. There will be a runner on first with 2 away. And Sydney Harris, the senior outfielder, at the plate.
If anything comes out of this rain delay that is more difficult, it's the fact that Sydney Harris it goes up to bat with a 1-2 count. She could potentially only see 1 pitch here.
See what happens. 1-2 on the way. And that was officially a 49-minute rain delay. And it resumes with a ball to even the count to Sydney Harris, who walked in the second inning. Back up the middle, and there is another base hit for Mercer and another bobble in the outfield, Kat.
Harris just shortened up and poked this into center field, but Dallas Goodnight bobbles this, but it doesn't get away from her, so no one can advance. And this might be part of a wet grass and the ball spinning up, getting away from the outfielder in that instance. It's 2 bobbles now in outfield for Georgia. They're going to have to clean that up. They start bobbling too far away from defensive players. Mercer's going to be able to take extra bases.
Hannah Rivers fouls one off, talented freshman who came into the night hitting .278. 13 starts coming into this one, started earlier in the year. Worked her way back into the starting lineup, drives one deep to left, and that one off the very top of the wall, but it will bring home another run. She's sliding into third, and Mercer has extended their lead to 4-0.
Hannah Rivers, we overlooked her first at bat because it was simply a sac bunt. Granted, it put runners in position to score. This time with 2 outs, she takes this pitch over the heart of the plate, up in the zone. She knows that's going deep. It didn't quite leave the field, but she knew she got all of that one. 2 RBI triple for Hannah Rivers in the biggest game of their season so far when you're talking about the quality of opponent.
Now that makes it 5-0. A few more inches and that one was gone. That would have been her first career home run. Regardless, that was the first triple of her career. And how about these Bears? Shocking number 16, Georgia right now. And the next batter gets hit, Langford.
If you're Tony Baldwin.
What is going on right now?
If you're Tony Baldwin and his pitching coach, Chelsea Wilkerson, this is not what you wanted to see out of Backus. You wanted to be able to see her come in, essentially maybe even one pitch and in the inning. But you see her struggling, give up the hit, and then the next one hit the next hitter. Nerves, maybe focus. Talked about what should have happened during the rain delay, but you have to keep your mind mentally focused as well when you go in those rain delays.
Now 2 in scoring position as Langford swipes second, her 19th stolen base of the year. Mercer, just aggressive play tonight. Grace Jones at the plate. Takes this one to left field. Goodwin is there. 3rd out of the inning recorded, but Mercer picks up right where they left off, and the Bears lead it by 5. Back 2 years ago to the Tallahassee Regional, Super Regional in Tallahassee 2023. FSU taking the series thanks to the big bats of Devin Flaherty and Kaylee Harding. In fact, Harding drove in the game-winning run in both of those games over the Bulldogs. And who would have thought just a couple years later they would be part of the staff going up against them tonight. Flaherty and Harding, both assistants, part of the staff. Harding, the graduate manager for Mercer. And going up against this Bulldogs team that, by the way, Kat, still has some players that competed against them tonight, such as Dallas Goodnight here, who comes up with the base knock and then some. How about Dallas Goodnight racing for 3? That's a leadoff triple for Goodnight.
Here's the offensive spark the Georgia Bulldogs need. This pitch up in the zone, over the plate. It's the white of the plate that Pitts has to avoid. Goodnight. First pitch she sees on the white, drives that to the right center gap. That's the spark that Georgia has been looking for.
Georgia has 3 extra base hits tonight, now a triple and 2 doubles, but have yet to take advantage. Here is Lindy Ray Davis, who doubled in the first inning. So we're mentioning some of the assistants on that Mercer staff. Harding and Flaherty. And some of the names like Lindy Ray Davis, who was also Kat on the Georgia team that faced them. But it's interesting to see them now once again being a part of this matchup in a different way.
Part of this matchup, and Coach Fico was very honest with us and said, you know, they knew what Georgia Tech was going to bring to the table, and so they were getting the athletes ready with this player does this and this and this, having played in the ACC, but, you know, playing against the top of the top, they've also played against Georgia. So you know that they're also able to say, hey, this player does this, Georgia typically does this, we have to be ready for, you know, this situation. So Devin Flaherty and Kaylee Harding, you see right there, both 4-time All-ACC players, but preparing this Mercer team for what they're going to face against some of the best opponents because they've been in their shoes.
Some talented members of that staff as Davis fouls one off. So Goodnight with the leadoff triple. Davis trying to take advantage. Full count offering on the way. And it misses, and Georgia in business here in the third.
Lindy Ray Davis, one of the most intimidating hitters in this Georgia lineup, and Pitts went up against her. The big thing there is even if Lindy Ray Davis leaves the park, which she's only done once this year, you still have the lead by 3 runs. So you have to be able to challenge hitters in these situations. Georgia's going to score. It's a matter of limiting their scoring. So don't put more runners on to allow them to possibly cash in more than they would if you made them earn it.
Ross takes over as a pinch runner at first. Runners on the corners, no outs. Here is Jaden Goodwin, the junior, having a career year, swinging at the first pitch, deep left. That one hauled in and foul territory by Harris. What a grab by the senior outfielder.
You see here this ball, put a charge in it, foul, but Harris continues to run that down. Oh, that might have been inside the foul line when she caught it. Dallas Goodnight tagging, so 1 run will score, but great hustle by Harris in left field to track that one. Big first out that Mercer needs here as Georgia's trying to create some momentum.
Georgia continues to hit the ball hard, but that was just a long out number 1. Here is Sarah Gordon, who doubled in the second inning. Pitts missing upstairs. Pitts has allowed 4 hits, 3 for extra bases.
You watch Pitts throw. She throws a lot of rise balls, and you see them kind of going through the zone, so belt high. Early, she was keeping those on the corners. Even Lindy Ray Davis, her double, not a bad pitch, but those starting to leak over the white of the plate. That's going to get her in trouble against this Bulldog offense.
So Bross still over at first after Goodnight scored on the sac fly. No strikeouts, 1 walk so far from Pitts in the circle. So we're heading back towards the stands. Place emptied out during the rain delay, but again, they've seen record attendance here throughout the season, already have topped their record attendance for a season. And we're only at the beginning of April. Monster crowd so far this year at Jack Turner Stadium, and tonight's Bulldogs faithful braving the weather. 2-2, foul back again. So Georgia trying to chip away at the deficit here. Goodnight with the leadoff triple. Came around to score. Bross still over at first, the pinch runner. This one snared at second. The throw over to first. And how about the defense of Mercer coming up big? The inning-ending double play.
Hannah Rivers with the absolute defensive gem, reaching up the middle for the line drive, doubled it off. Mercer with all the energy.
Their bats do here as we begin the 4th inning. Tori Hedgecock leading things off. Heart of the order due up. Hedgecock walked in the 2nd inning, popped up in the 1st. That is a home run swing and a miss against Backus.
Big swing there by Hedgecock, as you mentioned, and Mercer not extremely aggressive on the first pitch this game. Has forced Georgia pitchers to have to work a little bit harder to get ahead in the count.
Both of the runs Backus allowed were unearned. This is 2-1 again, 2 errors so far for Georgia. As It's made a really big difference in this ballgame as the hits are pretty much even, just 5-4 in favor of the Bears. 3-1.
So good patience by Hedgecock after she takes the big hack first pitch. A little bit more patient.
A delayed strike called by home plate umpire Donnie Whitehead. Marissa Miller, meanwhile, has taken over for Davis at catcher. That one poked to the right side, gobbled up by Allen, one away. Change at first base as well as Tyler Ellison takes over, one away.
Tell Tony Baldwin, his staff making some changes as this game probably got a little bit more out of hand than they expected.
Again, they had outscored them 52-8 in the last 5 meetings. Tonight, totally different story. Sietska drivers looking to reach for the first time tonight. Drops down the bunt. Backus spins around, hesitates, had to wait for the fielder to get there, and it results in drivers being safe. Again, things just not quite in rhythm defensively for Georgia.
Well, you see here, the bunt pulls Backus off the mound. Being left-handed, she has to make that spin, but Paisley Allen not there and not in Backus's peripheral, so she hesitates, makes a poor throw down in the dirt. Again, Mercer forcing Georgia to have to play clean defense. It's just not happening tonight for the Bulldogs.
Very young infield. Allen, one of a number of freshmen, in case you missed it earlier. At times, 3 of the 4 players in the infield have been freshmen. Here is Vigna, who drove in the first run of the night back in the first inning on a play that was also bobbled by the right fielder.
Vigna got fooled on a changeup on that too and just flicked the barrel, able to really literally flick a single into right field.
Nice job by Miller behind the dish, keeping that one in front of her.
Situations like that, I'd imagine why the change has been made behind home plate. Lindy Ray Davis, not an everyday catcher.
This one down the line and left and handled by Goodwin. 2 away. In the outfield, you have Gordon, Goodwin, and Goodnight.
I was trying to think of a pun to play off that
set you
with
up
you,
there
but
and just
couldn't come up with one. Good morning.
there you go. Here's Taylor Rogers, as it looks like Lindsay Fico will be making a change right here. Rogers was due up, but she was 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. So we'll see here who gets an opportunity. It will be Megan Logren, the sophomore out of Tampa. By the way, Mercer doing this tonight offensively without one of their best hitters, missing Paris Wiggs, who came in tonight hitting .328. She's out with an injury, didn't make the trip from Macon, and they have still put up 5 runs off now 6 hits. Strike 1 from Backus.
As she alluded to, Coach Fico talked to us early in the week about how loose her team can play, how good they can play if they're playing what she calls Bears ball. And you can see, Alex, even though Wiggs didn't make the trip, as a team, they're not missing a beat. They're not, hanging their heads or wondering, oh, what are we going to do because she's not in the lineup.
It's been a really impressive performance so far by the visitors as Backus misses. Lily Backus, 1 strikeout, 1 walk. 4 hits allowed so far in 2 1/3. Misses inside. Rachel Gibson started the game and threw well over 30 pitches in the first inning alone. Backus, meanwhile, getting close to 60. Mercer has been patient at the plate, earning 4 walks so far. That one was fouled off the face mask of Miller.
Talk about Mercer's patience. This is his 7th full count of the ball game, and we're only in the 4th inning.
Called strike 3 to end the inning.
Backus using that curveball down at the knees, and Mercer, while they threatened, Georgia coming to bat.
And play the game going forward to the best of our ability, and you know, glad to get a 0 on the board there, and we got to get back have competitive at-bats.
Coach, talking about at-bats, you've had quite a few extra base hits, haven't been able to bring more than the 1 in. What is the adjustment you're talking to your offense about against Pitts?
You know, I mean, we've screwed up a couple balls. They've caught a couple balls in the fence. We've lined into a double play. So some of it is just continuing to have hard contact and competitive at-bats, and trust that the things will fall. Now, we've got to do a better job situationally of moving runners, and you know, we talk about that. But you know, ultimately, kind of keep fighting and play Georgia softball.
I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you,
Coach.
Sorry for the technical difficulties there, but you heard Coach Baldwin talking about how his team has to reset and regroup. And this is an offense, Cat, that averages about 6 runs per game, so they still have plenty of time as they had the bottom half of the lineup coming up. And recently, this has been the part of the order that has done some damage. They did it against Oklahoma State. And earlier tonight, they got a double, a single, a hit batter. So we'll see what happens here. Emily Digby leading things off.
Well, Coach Baldwin's not wrong. Georgia has barreled up 4 balls. Double, triple, 2 doubles, excuse me, a triple, and as he mentioned, the line drive, that was up the middle, could be a base hit. So some things have not fallen their way, because you talked about also Harris out in left field made a nice catch at the fence.
2-0. Calling for it is Hedgecock. 1 away here in the bottom half. Let's take a look at this week's SEC Network featured baseball matchup. It'll be number 2 Arkansas beginning a 3-game set with Mizzou on Friday night. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern from Baum Walker Stadium in Fayetteville. And speaking of Missouri, their baseball squad will be coming on right after the conclusion of this one right here on SEC Network. Mizzou taking on Arkansas Pine Bluff. They are currently underway on the app. Again, we had about a 49-minute rain delay here, so things running a bit long. There is a hit batter, meanwhile, with 1 away. Second batter, Hannah Pitts, has plunked tonight.
Pitts got a 1 on the inside pitch, tries to stay inside, but this one, you see it tail up and in just too much. Gets the wrist of Davila. Wow, base runner for Georgia. Georgia tonight just 1 for 6 with runners on base.
So Davila over at first. Here is the first at bat of the night for Marissa Miller. That one misses wide. Cat, meanwhile, Hannah Pitts, I mean, this has been one of her best performances of the season so far against a very good offense. Just 1 run allowed, only 1 walk, and has scattered 4 hits.
She's doing a good job of keeping the ball inside. When she's over the wide of the plate, it's when she's trying to go to the outer half of the plate against whether it's a righty or lefty. But when she's working that inside corner, she's keeping it tight. She's able to elevate it just enough. A lot of big power hitters will chase up in the zone. And so if you can stair step that rise ball, a lot of times you can get them eating out of your hand, whether it's swing and misses or pop flies.
Facing Miller for the first time. Marissa Miller having a career year, the junior, hitting .328, 15 runs driven in on the season. Awaits the 2-2. Chop past the pitcher, scooting over onto second for one, over to first. Another inning-ending double play by this Mercer infield.
Well, Pitt stayed on the outer half. A curveball with that. It is big, big no.
So when she came back down, her right foot was not touching the base.
After review, the call on the field is upheld. We have now a play.
So there you go. As the call stands, according to home plate umpire Donnie Whitehead, the first out of the inning.
If you're Mercer, you have to take the chance that that might go your way. Runners at first and second again, no outs. Continues to give you some momentum, but that was a great sac bunt situation by Sydney Harris. Moves Fernandez, the pinch runner, over to second.
Hannah Rivers strokes one to left field. That one hauled in on the run by Goodwin. Hannah Rivers has hit the ball hard tonight.
Rivers got another good piece of that one. Little flick of the wrist action versus an actual full swing with her body, but some power there in the 9-hole.
Pinch runner Fernandez over at second as we go back up to the top of the order, and Hallie Langford. Langford walked in the first inning. Dropped down the squeeze play in the second to bring in a run, and then was hit by a pitch in the third as Isabel Fernandez is in scoring position.
Langford getting her axe in. Third at bat against Backus here tonight.
Having a great season, hitting nearly 400. Trying to stay healthy for a full season for the first time in her 5-year career. Played just 5 games this season ago after breaking her ankle. And had an injury-plagued 3 years at South Florida where she began her career. Waits the 1-2. Over to first. And the final out of the top half of the 5th recorded. It remains a 5-1 game in Athens. On to the bottom half we go. Mercer struck early in this one. The first 2 batters of the game walked, and then moments later, Laura Vigna drove in the first run of the night. That one also bobbled a bit in right field. The defense has had issues throughout the night. Here's a wild pitch shortly after that in inning number 2, and then the squeeze play, Cat, by Hallie Langford.
Well, Mercer executes the squeeze perfectly, and then the rain delay bought everyone some time, but Mercer able to plate 2 more on a triple to left field. Meanwhile, Georgia, a sac fly, the only way they're able to drive in their lone run so far. Mercer putting on the pressure, and Georgia so far unable to answer.
It's been a weird night for Georgia offensively. They do have 3 extra base hits already. Mercer only has 1. Georgia has yet to strike out at the plate, but still just 1 run to show for it. Mercer, meanwhile, fresh off their biggest win of the year last week against Georgia Tech. They've only beaten Georgia, meanwhile, once in program history, and that was 7 years ago in this ballpark.
As you mentioned, Georgia coming off the big win at Georgia Tech midweek last week. There's some confidence building with the Bears and the ability to be able to play their style of softball. You can tell tonight there's some confidence that they're approaching the plate with, and even in the circle here for Pitts.
Well, in the 3rd inning, Georgia had a golden opportunity. The first 2 batters reached. They had runners on the corners with no outs, and they weren't able to scrape 1 run past. But that was all, and here's a leadoff walk issued to Paisley Allen, and now we go back up to the top of the order to face Hannah Pitts.
Pitts just missing the zone there, using a lot of rise balls, but that's the moment where she needs to go right at Paisley Allen. If she hits a solo home run, who cares? But now you see pitching coach Courtney Gettins out there to have a conversation about what they need to do now as they see Georgia for the 3rd time.
Yeah, Kat, you bring up a great point because Lindsay Fico told us earlier in the week Pitts may only go one time through the order. But as you said, she's about to go the third time through. How do you feel like she's looking right now?
She's looked strong, and she's always going to let her defenses play. She is not a high strikeout pitcher, but the cues from Courtney Gettins right now is maybe some more changeups. We haven't seen her change speeds a ton against this Georgia offense, but the free passes have to be limited. The base on balls here to lead off with Paisley Allen, hit by pitches when you're ahead in the count. Those are things they need to shore up. But Courtney Gettins probably out there just to refresh Pitt's mind, give her a little couple cues to go at Ellison and Goodnight here.
Gabby Ellis warming up in the bullpen just in case, as the first pitch misses to Tyler Ellison, who came in with the best on-base percentage on the team this year. Looking to reach for the first time tonight. Takes the 1-0, shallow left, and that'll be hauled in by the shortstop, Dorval. So fresh off the walk, not a lengthy at bat there by Ellison.
No, and almost right on cue, Pitts uses that off-speed pitch to get Ellison out in front and get the easy fly ball for her shortstop. And the change of speeds.
For Dallas Goodnight. Sorry, Kat, go ahead.
The change of speeds for Pitts, rather new for her, not something she used last year a whole lot. And that's something that Gettins probably just went and had a conversation with. We need to be comfortable with that.
Dallas Goodnight reaches for the second time tonight. And now Georgia trying to put together a rally after Goodnight laid down the successful bunt.
Hitchcock just playing a little bit too far back with the speed of Goodnight. She pushes that bunt. It gets well down the line, but you have to be up in her face, take that away from her because she does have such good speed.
Golden opportunity for Lindy Ray Davis. Doubled in the first inning, walked in the third. Senior catcher of Calhoun, Georgia. One of the most patient hitters on the team. Second in on base percentage, despite being 9th among the starters in batting average. That's because she currently leads the team in walks.
28 walks so far. Well, excuse me, she had one tonight, so 29 walks on the season for Lindy Ray Davis. And a lot of times when opposing pitchers try to work around you, that batting average will drop a little bit. You're not going to see as many good pitches, and everybody knows what Lindy Ray Davis is capable of.
And it's a 3-0 count. One more ball will load the bases with just one out here in the 5th. That one right down the heart of the plate.
Might be a pitch Lindy Ray Davis wishes she had the green light on, even though it was 3-0, because that was right in her wheelhouse.
And the bases will indeed be full of Bulldogs for the cleanup hitter, Jaden Goodwin. Right now, Georgia 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. They've left 4 on, but if they're going to get back in this ball game, you would think it's going to happen now. This is the hitter they want up, Goodwin. Drove in the only run of the game on a sac fly in the 3rd. But just a tremendous hitter, batting .368 with 6 home runs on the year, Kat.
Goodwin going to have to hunt for a good pitch, and you know it's going to be coming because you just put Lindy Ray Davis on. You can't afford another free pass here. The defense from Mercer has been strong behind Pitts, so she's going to have to trust that right now.
Georgia, second best batting average with the bases loaded this year in the SEC. In there for strike 1. Goodwin delivered a walk-off home run against Michigan State in a victory against the Spartans back in February. Lifts this one up in the infield, Rivers underneath it, and that is a huge second out recorded by Mercer.
That's a big out because Goodwin was batting over 600 with runners, with the bases loaded, excuse me. So huge opportunity there for Pitts to retire Goodwin.
It'll be up to Sarah Gordon. Bases loaded, 2 away. And she takes ball 1. Gordon doubled in the second inning. But with runners on in the third, hit into an inning-ending double play. Former ACC Freshman of the Year at Louisville. And it's a 2-0 count.
Looks like Pitts is trying to be careful with Gordon. She has barreled up 2 balls, as you mentioned. The double and that line drive up the middle was a good barrel for Gordon. 2 quality at bats today.
Last year in her first season with the Bulldogs, it was a year of adjustment, only hit 209, but this year looks like the old Gordon, who won that ACC Freshman of the Year award in 2023, has already launched 7 home runs this season. 1 more here would tie the game. Pitch ready to go. And it's a 3-1 count.
Where to put Gordon, so Pitts is going to have to dig deep here on this pitch. But you heard Coach Fico when we interviewed her. Pitts is the one that wants the ball. She wants these situations.
Gordon strokes 1 foul. Just a bit ahead.
Alex, you mentioned the bounce back year for Gordon. Hit 217 last year. Already more hits this far in season than she had all of 2024. Coach Baldwin made sure to point that out. In fact, it felt like she was just trying to do a lot in a lineup of a lot of veterans last year.
We'll see what she comes up with here. Biggest pitch of the night. Chopped off the pitcher's glove. 1 run comes in and everybody's safe. It's a 5-2 game.
Pitts makes the pitch that she needs, and she gets this chopper. Gets a high chopper, but she just can't get up enough to field it. Got the mishit, just unable to make the play on defense. That's where she probably wishes she was just a couple inches taller.
Georgia continues to chip away at the deficit. At one point it was 5-0. It is now 5-2. Bases loaded again. 2 away for Emily Digby, sophomore out of Decula, Georgia. Looks like we will have a pinch hitter instead. Emma Castori, the sophomore, who is hitting .310 on the year in limited appearances. A deep squad for Tony Baldwin, and he goes to the bench.
Well, Digby 0 for 2 tonight with 2 infield flies, so hasn't been able to get the barrel to Pitts yet. 2 outs, why not give someone a chance to swing the bat, see if someone sees Pitts a little bit better.
Castori, a couple of home runs on the season. One of the biggest at-bats of the year for the sophomore. Goodnight, Davis, and Gordon on the bases. Pitts up over 90 pitches now. Ball 1. Castori, one of the 11 underclassmen on this Georgia squad. That one finds the strike zone.
You can tell Castori was going to get her timing well, taking on both sides of the plate. Ball 1, the first pitch was close.
That one popped up, and a huge third out as Georgia leaves the bases loaded. They get one, but it's still a 3-run Mercer lead now after 5. Well, these teams are even in hits. Georgia has more extra base hits than Mercer. Georgia has yet to strike out at the plate, but they've been held to 2 runs on the night, leaving the bases loaded in that last frame, Cap. They have now left 7 on as we begin inning number 6, and Mercer right now pulling off a stunner.
Well, Mercer just, again, I feel like I sound like a broken record, doing everything right. They've been able to get the squeeze bunt down. They've made the defensive plays when they've needed to. You know, we saw the one in the last half inning off the glove of Pitts, but that was going to be a hard play for her to jump up and get that ball anyways. But Mercer able to capitalize when they have runners on. And don't get me wrong, they have left 8 on base, but they've been able to drive in some when they needed to too. And really, that's all Mercer has to do is continue to keep the momentum on their side little by little. If that just means getting runners on base, scoring them, getting big outs, and the Bears have been in the driver's seat this whole game.
Backus back out there for inning number 6. Grace Jones leading off. Kat, does Mercer start to feel the pressure a little bit, knowing they are just 2 innings away from pulling off a major upset?
I honestly think watching them play that they're not feeling pressure. They know this is a win-win situation for them, regardless of the outcome of this game. And you can tell that they're playing loose. They're having competitive at-bats. They're out there just competing, and that's what Coach Lindsay Fico wanted to see.
They have absolutely been at their best this year against the best competition. We've seen the way they played tonight against Georgia and the way they played in the win last week against Georgia Tech. Lindsay Fico has increased her win total every year she has been with the program, and looking to do the same this year. Her 19th win, if she could pull it off tonight, would be absolutely huge and potentially the signature win of her career. Jones fouls one off.
And when we highlighted the staff, you saw that picture of Lindsay Fico. She played at Florida. She knows what it takes to have to compete in the SEC like Georgia's doing, so she knows the level of caliber of players that Mercer is up against today, and she's trying to raise that level of standard within her own program too.
Swing and a miss from Jones. That one was in the dirt. Throw to first. Completes the strikeout.
Haven't seen too many Mercer players chase balls out of the zone. This is just the second one tonight. Nice off-speed pitch by Backus. Great job by Miller back there to keep it in front of her, allow her to have an easy play at first.
Third strikeout of the night for Backus. Here's Tori Hedgecock, 0 for 2 with a walk. It's a player who has put up gaudy offensive numbers throughout her career. 45 home runs and 131 runs driven in. Changes, meanwhile, continue to be made for Georgia. Talked about a few innings ago. Miller coming in behind the plate. Williams now over at third. And another 3-ball count.
You see Lily Backus trying to use that off-speed pitch a lot, and that's the respect of Hedgecock and the fact that she has so many power numbers this year.
5th walk issued by Georgia pitching. Again, they had none in the last game of the Alabama series, but still gave up 8 runs. The walks have been a problem. They had 20 walks in that series against Tennessee. And a walk here with 1 away in the 6th inning by Backus.
Both teams huddling up, having some conversation.
You can see how loose Mercer is out there, still laughing. We saw him dancing in the dugout an inning ago. Trying to beat Georgia for just the second time in program history. Cooling off in the dugout as well.
Winning's fun. They're having some fun in there.
Sietska drivers. Coming up for Mercer, runner over at first. They have now had at least one runner on in every single inning. Monaco takes over as a pinch runner. Backus now having trouble finding the strike zone after that leadoff strikeout to Jones.
Well, Backus got a couple curveballs called low at the knees earlier this game, and I think she thought that was similar. Last one before that foul ball was a little bit lower than strikes called in the 4th and 5th inning.
Backus yet to allow an earned run now in 4 innings of relief, but 2 unearned runs allowed. After Rachel Gibson started this one, and that one misses low. What is that telling you, Kat?
Well, Backus continuing to try to stay low in the zone. We saw her get some calls down there, but forcing it a little bit too much, trying to be a little too perfect.
Drivers drops that one into shallow left center. 7th hit of the night for Mercer. 2 aboard. They just continue to look poised at the plate.
Well, the confidence of Mercer right now showing. You see there the situational hitting, Alex.
They've gotten it done. I mean, right since the 1st inning when they came through with a hit with multiple runners on. They have delivered throughout the contest.
Well, to me, it's with 2 outs and the fact that 3 for 8, you're not hitting over 500 with 2 outs, but you're hitting with 2 outs. And 3 of Mercer's 5 runs have come with 2 outs, and that's a big deal when you can drive in runs even though you have 2 outs on the board.
I don't know if we expected to see Randy Rolling tonight, but she is now in the ball game. The lefty sophomore transfer has replaced Lily Backus, who gave an admirable effort coming out of the bullpen. We want to remind you, by the way, it's not all about softball here, the SEC Network. Also, we have the SEC Equestrian Championship for you Monday night at 8 Eastern. In case you missed it, all the best moments from Tryon International Resort in Mill Spring, North Carolina. Auburn came in as the 6-time defending champs. It's right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app, so it's not just about Bulldogs and Bears. Cat horses too, Monday night, SEC Network. I know you'll be watching, but right now, all eyes are watching Randy Rolling, 8-5 on the year, 3rd pitcher of the night for Georgia.
Coach Tony Baldwin didn't want to see Rolling have to enter this game. He felt like her tank was running low last weekend in Alabama, having pitched in the midweek against Oklahoma State. But the free passes, the fact that Mercer's been able to find ways on base against both Gibson and Backus, Tony Baldwin having to bring his ace out there, and you see she'll hit 63, 64 miles an hour, drop, rise, change, screw. The biggest asset for Randy Rolling, all of her pitches tunnel well, so they come out of her hand looking the same level, and then late they break in different positions, change speeds. So for a hitter, you can't decide too early because all of her pitches will look very similar.
Well, Tony Baldwin told us, listen, they've really been relying on Rolling and Backus all year long. I think he was hoping to give at least one of them, if not both of them, a rest tonight, as this one fouled off. In fact, he mentioned that, listen, Randy Rolling pitched really well against LSU, really well against Oklahoma State, and he admitted the tank might not have been all the way full for her by the time that Alabama series rolled around. But here she is back out there in a midweek affair.
somewhere in your schedule. You have to have a break for your ace pitchers. When you roll them back out game after game and there's never a day that they can have off, they can rest their arm, rest their body, it starts to take a toll. And that's what Tony Baldwin said he thinks he saw out of rolling against Alabama, was the fact that she was just starting to really get tired from having thrown so much.
Runners on first and second, pinch runner over at first as well now as Wicker takes over. The appeal to third, no, did not go round as the count even at 2 to Vigna.
Saw an appeal and Vigna just kind of waved it off like, no, I knew I didn't swing.
No doubt about it, this one up the middle. They tag the lead runner. Excuse me, the second runner there is now runners on the corners with 2 away. As Monaco moved to third, Wicker was tagged out. Vigna over at first, 2 outs. We saw Logren come up as a pinch hitter in the last inning. She struck out. We'll see what she does here.
Check swing by Logren, and that's where you can tell she's not necessarily ready for what Rolling's throwing. You have to have a game plan, know what you're looking for in that situation.
Chase that one upstairs. Some serious gas from Rolling.
Here's where you can tell Logren just a little bit overly aggressive. Not making sure the ball's in the zone, something she can drive up the middle.
How about Rolling coming out of the pen?
Stretch, but anytime you can come into a place like this, whether it's an ACC school or an SEC school, and compete. Our biggest thing is we just want to compete. You know, we don't necessarily need any miracles to happen, but they did a really good job. And what I'm hoping is the team sees that we can compete with anybody whenever our version of the Bears show up.
Certainly competing tonight, trying to pull off their second big-time upset in a week span, but this one would be an entirely different story as Mercer has sent a new pitcher out there. Grace Taylor taking over for Pitts as they are trying to pull off just the second win in program history over the Bulldogs. Meanwhile, at the plate in her first at-bat of the night is Mua Williams, the talented freshman out of Hawaii. But again, Grace Taylor, new pitcher in the circle for Mercer.
Grace Taylor, the junior, has carried majority of the load the last 2 years. But as we mentioned earlier, Alex, she was injured in preseason, so she did not throw all of preseason. It's been a work in progress to work her back into the rotation. So that's where you've seen Pitts be able to step up as a starter. The sophomores that they have on staff been able to take some of the load as well. But Taylor is going to stay down in the zone. Drop, curve, off speed, but she's going to live lower in the zone than we saw Pitts.
Mua Williams got a breather tonight. She had started every other game this year and has come up with some huge hits. A grand slam in the upset win over LSU and another home run and a top 10 win over South Carolina. Called strike 3. She goes down looking.
What a pitch by Taylor. 2-2 count, and she just locates this well at the knees inside. We saw Lily Backus get a couple calls like that. But Taylor, first strikeout of the day for the pitching staff for Mercer.
That is unbelievable. First strikeout indeed, as the next batter, Marissa Miller, a Georgia native, having a career year at the plate, hitting .323. The Bulldogs now down to their last 5 outs of the night. The 2-0 in there. Well, keep in mind, this was the exact same score when Mercer took down Georgia the only other time in team history in 2018, 5-2 in extras.
You could tell that Taylor trying to use her spin and her locations. She's locating well in the inner half. Drop ball just a little bit too low right now, not getting Georgia swinging at it.
And a walk issued by Taylor. Exactly what Georgia needed. One on, one away for Paisley Allen, the freshman out of Louisville, Texas. Allen has reached in 6 straight after walking in the 5th.
Allen, a freshman, and while Coach Tony Baldwin talks about how she's just a baller. She just goes and plays, doesn't make the moment too big, although he did think the crowd at Alabama might have been the biggest crowd she's played in front of, but has some experience on a big stage. Was a member of the U18 Team USA national team that played up in Dallas last fall, or excuse me, this past fall. One of a handful of college freshmen that were on that team took home the gold in their stage to qualify for the World Championships.
Great experience for her. And again, this is her freshman year, so all of these learning experiences like tonight will come in handy down the road. Now ahead in the count, 2-1. Shot back up the middle. On to second for one. Not in time at first. 2 away.
Paisley Allen has some speed, and the way this was hit, the chopper, it stayed down here, and Duval did all she can, make sure she was able to field that and get the lead out, but the speed of Allen breaks up what looked like could have been another double play for the Mercer Bears.
They've already pulled off a few of those, so back up to the top of the order we go, and Tyler Ellison with 1 on and 2 away. She's 0 for 3 so far, but again came into the night as arguably the best hitter on the team, leading the squad in on-base percentage. You
see Taylor trying to nibble the corner and missing just a little bit, a small adjustment. She can either get the miss hit or even a called strike. Miss hits are typically what Taylor's known for. She has a 2-seamer that runs down and away from right-handed hitters, but right now has to find something that can locate in the zone in order for her to work ahead in the count to these Georgia hitters to then use that 2-seamer to drop down and away.
For Mercer, you give up a 2-run homer, you still have the lead. You walk a batter here, you allow the tying run to come up to the plate. Ellison up the middle and snared by Dorval. The defense comes through again for Mercer, and it's still a 5-2 game as we now head to the 7th in Athens.
Presented by Sprouts Farmers Market, official healthy grocer of the Southeastern Conference.
We have an upset in the making in Athens, Georgia, as we move on to the top of the 7th inning. Mercer struck way back in the 1st inning. In fact, scored in the first 3 innings. And they have taken that lead now into potentially the final frame as Emma Dorval, who made that nice play to end the last inning, comes up to bat to lead off the 7th.
Dorval, 2 actually good plays as she had to time the 1 grounder up to make sure she could field and get the lead out, as well as snaring that sinking line drive up the middle. Facing Rowling for the first time today, and Randy Rowling came in and made quick work in the 6th inning to get easy ground out and a strikeout.
That one fouled away by Dorval. Rolling and Backus have combined for more than 70% of Georgia's innings pitched this year and more than 70% of their strikeouts. Dorval, meanwhile, has reached twice. Single in the 2nd, hit by a pitch in the 5th inning. Just got a piece of that one.
Dorval doing a good job of making sure she sees it in the zone. Not another rise ball from Rowling, but that time through the zone, gets a piece of it. Has been patient, forced Rowling to go a little deeper in the count here than the first 2 hitters she faced.
Full count on the way to Dorval. Three different pitchers for Georgia tonight as Dorval sends one to shallow center. 1 away.
The longest at bat for Mercer against Rolling.
In the 8th spot, here comes Sydney Harris, who's had a nice night, chases that one. Walked in the 2nd, singled in the 3rd. By the way, for Georgia, coming up in the bottom of the 7th, it'll be the batters they went up, 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Ball 1.
Dorval and now Harris both exhibiting a little bit more patience against Rolling than Logren did.
Plunked Harris there, who's in a ton of pain. Got her right in that left arm.
That pitch just came up and kept coming in on Harris.
It's the 3rd hit batter of the night by Georgia pitchers.
This pitch going up, but yeah, just keeps running in. Oof, that gets Harris right above the elbow right there. Might have even got part of the elbow, and I think that's where she's holding on to it. You see her trying to move her hand. I think like funny bone, but on the inside of your elbow. It's not fun. You get a lot of tingles down the arm into the fingers.
She's like, if I'm ever going to stay in a game, it's this one. There's no way I'm coming out of this one. This would be one of the biggest upsets in recent Mercer history. She shakes it off, stays at first, and the first pitch to Hannah Rivers misses. Rivers takes one to left center. On the run is Goodnight. The throwback to first won't get the runner, but a heck of a grab by the center fielder.
This is where you see the speed and the range of Dallas Goodnight. Hannah Rivers puts a charge in another one, and this is extra bases, a run-scoring hit if Goodnight cannot chase this down. But heads up by Harris. She rounds second, and she makes sure she touches second as she goes back to first. Goodnight made the throw to double her up, but not on target. Amazing play by Goodnight. But Alex, that's the second time Hannah Rivers has been robbed of a ball that she has absolutely barreled up.
Yeah, she had that line out in the 5th inning. Had the 2-run triple in the 3rd. Has hit the ball hard all night, but robbed there. 2 away now. At the top of the order, up again, Langford. Walked in the 1st, dropped down The squeeze in the second to bring home a run, and then was hit by a pitch in the third. Poke to the left side. On to second, and here we go. Good night, Davis, and Goodwin due up as we hit the bottom of the seventh in Athens. The Bulldogs down to their last 3 outs, down by 3 against Mercer, who made the 2-hour trek from Macon, trying to pull off one of the biggest upsets in recent program history. It would be just the second time they've beaten Georgia ever, and their first win over a top 25 opponent since that win over the Bulldogs, who are ranked number 5. In 2018 in Cat, it came by the exact same score of 5-2 in this ballpark.
There are times where they say history repeats itself, and other than it being extra innings, we're staring down at that cliche right now. The big task, though, right now is for Grace Taylor. Find a way to retire Dallas Goodnight. You cannot put her on for free to start the bottom of the 7th and give Georgia any free momentum.
Strike one to Goodnight. What has really hurt Georgia offensively is going 1 for 5 with the bases loaded tonight. Goodnight chops one to the left side, handled by Hedgecock. One away in the bottom of the 7th.
Great response there by Taylor, getting down 2-0, but working the inner half. Just a little jammed up, but easy ground ball for her defense.
Here is Lindy Ray Davis, has reached 3 times, 2 via a walk. Also doubled in the first inning. Georgia just 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position, and the 8 left on has certainly hurt them. Kat, what's been the biggest surprise of this game so far to you?
I say surprise in the best way possible is just the way that Mercer has been able to execute pitches. They've had some walks and some free passes, but they've also had some big pitches and big moments in counts that favored Georgia. And they were able to get either easy ground balls or fly balls that they can easily handle. And then on the same side of Mercer is just how well they played defense. They've played clean defense thus far. Have 2 more outs to get, but so far 6 1/3. They've been perfect on the defensive side.
And there's a base runner for the Bulldogs as Davis walks for the 3rd time tonight. Tony Baldwin told us earlier in the week this Mercer team is going to come in here fired up. It's an intrastate rivalry. They have plenty of kids on their squad who probably wanted to play at Georgia, and he knew they were going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. And they have played that way. Meanwhile, Molly Mitchell takes over for Davis at first. Jaden Goodwin in the cleanup spot comes up to the plate. She is due 0 for 3 so far. In there from Taylor.
Response there by Taylor makes me think that the plan for Mercer was just to work around Lindy Ray Davis at all possible.
Goodwin, a .365 hitter. That one grabbed by Taylor and nearly threw it away. Rivers was there to keep it from going to center field, and now Georgia will have the tying run come up to the plate.
This is a tough break. A grounder right back at Taylor, and she has a chance for a double play, but she sees Rivers instead of seeing Dorval. This is where communication before the play needs to happen, that Dorval says, hey, I got you at 2. At the same time, Rivers needs to be out of the pitcher's view, and that's what happened right there, is she saw Rivers, made the throw to her. First real defensive miscue for Mercer. Unfortunate there, because that would have been a big play, even if they just eliminated the leadoff runner.
And now it will bring up Sarah Gordon, the former ACC Freshman of the Year with Louisville, who transferred to Georgia a year ago. It was a season of adjustment, hitting just .209 last year. But Gordon has bounced back this year, come back with a vengeance. 7 home runs, 7 doubles, and a .362 hitter with runners in scoring position. Georgia just 3 for 15 with runners on, trying to reverse the trend. And that one catches the corner. Strike 1. Taylor with a strikeout and 2 walks so far. 1-2.
Taylor with a big pitch. That inside pitch has been her bread and butter right now to these right-handed hitters of Georgia.
Taylor ready. Gordon stays alive. She doubled in the 2nd inning and had a run-scoring single in the 5th.
Key for Taylor right now, she has Gordon in a count that's advantage to the pitcher. Don't play around. Throw pitches that are competitive, but not over the heart of the plate.
Called strike 3, and the Bulldogs are down to their final out.
This pitch, Alex, has fooled a couple of Georgia hitters. She just goes low inside at the knees. She splits that corner. That's her 2nd strikeout, looking both on that inside pitch.
Mercer 1 out away from pulling off one of the biggest upsets in program history. They were 1-23 against Georgia, and the Bulldogs will send up a pinch hitter with the game on the line. It'll be a freshman, Taya Charlton, representing the tying run with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th. Charlton on the season, a .217 hitter, 1 home run, 8 walks and 8 strikeouts. One of the biggest at-bats of her young college career.
See Coach Tony Baldwin getting his youngsters in some of these high-pressure moments to prepare them. Season gets tougher, plus down the stretch for postseason.
Two-one to the freshman. And Mercer 1 strike away. And again, Kat, a Georgia batter watching that ball cross the strike zone. 1 more would end it.
She throws it at such a good height.
The 2-2, swing and a miss, and Mercer has pulled off the upset and stunned number 16 Georgia.
It took some great pitching and clean defense from the Mercer Bears, but they capitalized early and never looked back.
That will do it from Athens. Mercer beating Georgia for the first time since 2018.